And just like that, we're back. And before I introduce my guest, let's have a quick look at the surf. It's probably around 2, maybe 3 foot out there. It's a little bit lumpy. Plenty of swell around. There's a couple of guys out there on the point. Waves to be had. The surf coast has been cooking since we've arrived in winter. And we can both agree it's cold, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's about 7 degrees right now. It's 8:45 in the morning. But we have our shoes off.
I've just put my socks on it.
Jakey's just put his socks on, but that's okay. He had his shoes off.
Yeah.
It's nice to be out here, huh?
It's great. Yeah, it's fresh.
Very fresh.
But, we're awake and that's good.
Yes. So this is only the 4th interaction I've had with the great man. And before he introduces himself, I'd love to share our story on how we met. So some dear friends of mine, they run a Northern Thai style pop-up around the Geelong Surf Coast area. And they gave me the call up one day and said, can you come down and wash dishes for us at a place called Austin's Wines? I was like, yeah, sure, no worries. I'll come down and wash some dishes. And anyway, I'm in the kitchen doing my thing, and then Jake walks in. And there was a little connection there straight away, and we were kind of just having a laugh and having a bit of a yarn, nothing too serious. And then I left there, and then it was about maybe a month, maybe 2 months later, I was out doing my shopping at our local farm gate, selecting the produce, the whitewater. And I seen Jakey boy up there, and we started chatting, and that's probably when the conversation started to explore health a little bit. Curiosity and our values were very similar.
Yeah.
And anyway, probably about another month later, I got the call up from the guys at Lam, Northern Thai style cooking, down at a place called Grounded Festival, which I'd love for you to share your experience with Grounded Festival. And I hadn't heard of this particular festival, but this time I wasn't washing dishes, I was on the wok. And next thing you know, Jake's back in the line ordering some food, and that's probably where we really started to have a good yarn about health and life and everything in between. And yeah, as I said, we shared very similar, or do share very similar values when it comes to health. And it was probably a few weeks after that, a dude I follow on Instagram actually reshared one of Jake's reels, and I was like, oh, I know that dude. And anyway, I got lost in a rabbit hole of looking at Jake's world and him sharing his story and his truth. And I thought, yeah, he's definitely going to be someone I'd love to have a deeper conversation with, because, yeah, he shares very similar beliefs, values, and he's a very curious being like myself. And so, yeah, without further ado, welcome to the podcast, brother. What is going on?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here, and I definitely think it was meant to be.
Yeah.
And I think our story tells it well, because we just kept bumping into each other, and every time it was a little bit more, opening up a bit more, and then at that festival we really got a chance to chat.
Yeah.
And then it's moved to online since, and now we're here. So yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no, for sure. So before you let me know who you are in terms of what you do for work and the labels that you may carry, I'd love to know, and this is putting you on the spot, I'd love to know who you are without telling me what you do for work, what any of your labels are, your relationship status, and anything like that. Who is Jake at his core?
Yeah. Jake is curious and playful and a truth seeker. And I think that really encompasses everything that I do, and without telling you what I do and how I do it, it all flows like through that. And that's taken some time to get to and understand, and I definitely wouldn't have been able to tell you that a couple of years ago.
For sure. Cool.
But yeah, it's becoming clearer and clearer, and I feel like I have more and more purpose, and it's a beautiful place to be. and it's an exciting life this is.
Yeah, it really is, man. Nah, beautifully said. So, yeah, let's take it all the way back to the moment you felt like you wanted to start to ask deeper questions. You know, I know you said before we press record, you know, why are we here? What's this all about?
Yeah.
But I'd love to know specifically where that thought came in for you when it comes to being a curious being exploring the world of health.
Yeah. Well, yeah, kind of like I said before, ever since young, I remember getting around in primary school, like early years of primary school, and just thinking, you know, why are we here? What's the purpose? What's the meaning of life? And there was no, you know, when I asked people, there's no real answer. Nothing was clear, and that just made me crave it even more, that answer. And yeah, I guess that same sort of thinking manifested in different ways as I stepped into myself as a human, as an adult, as Jake. And well, actually, to take a step back, to be honest, yeah, as I got further on in school, I suppose, and in the mundane routine of things, I probably lost a bit of that spark, a bit of that curiosity, and I don't know if now's a good time to dive into my story, but I just was caught up in school and felt like I wasn't working towards anything real and meaningful, and sort of just coasting through. And then, you know, as you get older and drinks start coming up and then drugs, and then got really wrapped up in that. And I think I was also saying to you before how I get obsessed with things.
Yeah.
So I got obsessed with skating when I was young, and that was really good for me. But then when I got interested in being more social and partying and stuff, I got quite obsessed with that and took that. You know, went really really hard there.
Yeah.
And just sort of pushed that to a point where I was just quite sad, anxious, and yeah, frankly, like depressed. I was sort of in this cycle of just like,
Escapism in a way.
Escapism.
Yeah.
I think I was avoiding responsibility in life. Anyway, and then I guess everyone has a pain threshold.
Yeah.
And once I hit that, I realized like something's got to change. So yeah, I think that's quite different answer to the question that you asked originally, but
it's perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, it's very similar to me. You know, I started my journey as a PT.
Yep.
Because I didn't want to be a chippy. I was a chippy by trade, but I hated every day of it. And the moment I become qualified, when I finished my 4th year, I quit, and I started basically exploring what it would be like to be a PT. But I wasn't really getting anywhere with it, because this is when I was living in Tassie at the time, and that's where I decided to move to Melbourne to pursue my personal training career. But again, I was pursuing that career, but I was also partying very hard. So I was curious about movement and health, but I was also deep in the darkness, but also the beauty of partying. And I don't regret it, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on how you look at your past. I look at my past with nothing but beauty and gratitude in terms of what I was able to do, the people I was able to meet, the music I was able to listen to. And yeah, sure, you know, there was a lot of times where I was probably escaping different things, but there was also a lot of times where I was like, like exploring different things as well. And, you know, it's not always escapism. You know, there is a part of me that was like, I'm so happy that I was curious to explore that side of me, because now I'm so clear on who I am at my core and what truly fills my cup up. And to live that past, to experience that, gives you a greater appreciation of how good health really is, because it gives you a reference point, like I was speaking about on the podcast.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have a reference point. They're either really, really low and they stay really low and they're just so okay with it because it's their normal. But then when you and I and people that are listening to this have explored what it actually feels like to be in pure abundance, to feel free in your body, to be able to move, to be able to dance, to be able to laugh, to be able to feel this vitality within your body, you look at that side of your past or an experience that you've had feeling that way, and it gives you this greater appreciation of how good it feels when you're abundant.
Yeah, I think it actually, hearing you say that, the story that I just told actually really involves that same curious self, because I was tempted by this lifestyle of partying, and I was curious about it, and I was exploring that, and I don't regret it either, because like you say, it gives you a reference point. And I think that's why there can be a lot of value in being a bit extreme and being a bit excessive and exploring the boundaries, because it's all reference points, and then now you're figuring out, okay, where do I fit in all of that? Because if you don't explore it, then how do you know?
How do you know? So you've had a very similar past to me. You've explored, you know, partying and everything that comes with it, and there's no regret. At what point did you say to yourself, this ain't it?
Yeah, well, I've noticed a pattern.
Yeah.
So I grew up in Melbourne. That's where the party scene was. That's where I was going to school. And then I finished school and I was living with my parents still. They moved to Geelong. That's where all the family's from originally. I had all my friends, all my life in Melbourne. So I had a car. I was going back and forth, and I'd stay with my mates over the weekend and, you know, sort of couch hop. And then I'd stay Monday night, and then I'll stay Tuesday night, and then by the time, you know, Wednesday comes around, it's almost Friday, and I'm going to be coming back down Friday anyway, so I'm sort of on this like 1 week bender sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
And but every time I did go back to Geelong, almost every time I'd call my sister and I'd end up in tears on the phone to her, and probably coming down off drugs, whatever substances I was using. But there was always this story, I was some victim to some sort of relationship, some sort of circumstance. And then, you know, that just kept happening. You know, it's like the 6th time, or, you know, probably a dozen times I've called my sister and I'm crying. And then you just got to realise, you know, it's not everyone else, it's me. I'm doing this to myself. And and I was just sort of at home in Geelong, feeling the come down, feeling this roller coaster of emotions, and I just got to a point where I was sick of it, and I actually kind of looked in the mirror, and I was pale, I was quite skinny. I've always been like quite active, really into sport, and I was sort of letting all that go because I was distracted. And I just thought, like every time I go to Melbourne and come back, I'm sad. So I'm going to get out of Melbourne. So that's what I did. I just changed my environment. And it's not that Melbourne is the problem. It was my relationship with it. It's not my friends. It's all like my wrongdoing. And so I just got out of Melbourne. That was sort of my key tool, changing my environment. There's this formula, I guess you could call it, equation. Desire or temptation equals desire times environment. So you have desire and environment, and when you multiply two things, if one of them is 0, it always equals 0. So I still had that desire to party, but I realized, you know, if I can remove it from my environment, I won't be able to be tempted by it because it's not in my environment. So I just kept on changing my environment, kept on hanging out with different people, and to the point where I sort of broke away from those bad habits, and yeah, it really worked for me. Like, I even went overseas for a few months to Vanuatu. Have you heard of Vanuatu? Yeah. So like, you know, went to great lengths to really make these changes, and yeah, it worked. And it gets to a point where you start feeling good, and then those good feelings compound, and then, like you say, when you just feel better and better, and then you don't want to go back, and then now that's the thing pulling you forward. And then now I can be in those environments and I don't have the desire anymore, so I'm not tempted.
It's beautifully said, and it's again very similar to me. I was presented with an opportunity to move down to the Surf Coast, which at the time I was thinking it was something that was in the distant future. I was working at a gym, and you know, it was my definition of success at the time. Everything was moving in the right direction until it wasn't. And some circumstances changed within the environment that I was working in that forced me to then make a decision. And I was like, oh, I don't want to be here anymore. Like, and it was instant. It was, you know, before I was 30, it was like 29. It was before my 30th birthday. I was like, oh, wow, I'm moving down the Surf Coast. It's happening. I wasn't attached to anything in Melbourne.
Cool.
And I was just in a rental property, and my partner Tash, she stayed in that rental property for another month or so while I was like finding my feet down here. And I rang a local gym in Geelong, and I started coaching out of there. And then I feel like that was the moment for me where I was like, I have a different lens to look through. You know, I have a different perception. I almost stepped into a different reality, because I was more connected to nature. I was out surfing a lot more. I was hanging around with different people. So not only did I take away that temptation, I reshaped the environment, which then started to also then change the desire. What do I truly want? What do I truly desire? And when you remove yourself from, I guess, the loop, when you first of all see the loop, you can see that loop, you remove yourself from it, and you almost put yourself in a new environment, whether that be internal or external. I think either way is a choice. From then you can actually start to see things differently. Like the moment that my partner and I found out we were going to be parents, another perception changed. Another reality was created. And then you see things differently again. And that's how I always encourage people to not only see themselves, but see the world, see reality, see health. It's almost like you get to see it clearer and clearer the more you become closer to who you are at your core. The more you find yourself, the more everything becomes clearer around you. But I think a lot of people rely on everything becoming clear around them to find who they are, not the other way around. Sometimes it can be initiated by both. But eventually I believe that is the recipe for it.
And it may be, I'm curious what you think on this, it may be individual.
Yeah, of course.
You know, so everyone has different ways of thinking and processing and interacting with the world around them. So some people might be a more physical, material sort of person, and that pulls them. Did you have moments where temptations came back up?
Of course.
Yeah.
And to be completely honest, I am still faced with those temptations today, but they're just different temptations. They're different mediums that pull you out of your center, but that's what they're designed to do. That's what they're there for. Whether it be social media, whether it be drugs or alcohol, whether it be porn, whether it be bad food, whether it be whatever the medium is, that's what they're designed to do. And therefore, we shouldn't blame the medium, but we need to question our relationship to it. And so now my relationship to these things are either non-existent, or the ones that I choose to entertain, the mediums that I choose to entertain, are from more of a grounded place that I can build a relationship with. Let's just say organic natural wine. I mean, everyone on this channel probably knows that I love my organic natural wine, but the relationship that I have with it is something that actually enhances the experience rather than ends up being like something that I'm trying to escape from, if that makes sense. So that those temptations are still there, and I could choose to use wine in a way that it was a distraction from something that I knew I needed to face, versus like I went out yesterday afternoon, my friends again at Lam Thai, and they had a pop-up in Geelong, and you know, I had a glass of natural wine with my food, and it's like, for me, that enhances the experience. I'm not trying to escape anything.
I love it.
Yeah. So let's circle all the way back around. So you've been in your party days, you've had your fun with that, you've called your sister, you're kind of like going through, you know, this roller coaster of emotions, thinking to yourself like, this ain't it. What were you first exposed to that now sparked your curiosity for health?
Change my environment, get out of Melbourne.
Yep.
I think it might have been Paul Saladino.
Really? Carnivore MD at the time.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
No, he was animal based.
Oh, he was? Okay, yeah. So the transition.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I felt my sister might have sent me a reel.
Yeah.
And honestly, social media was like
cool.
Really cool, like good influence on me.
Yeah, sick.
Like really good. Soulbra.
Yes.
You know Soulbra?
Yeah, I know Soulbra.
So like consuming content like this just made me start thinking like, whoa, there's this like, made me start questioning the food system, right?
Yes.
And then when you realise that not everything is as it seems there, and then you start, you know, you apply that to many different topics and subjects, you know, and you sort of get into conspiracy theories and things as well. But the food is a really obvious one, and it's really easy to understand and comprehend, and so I guess I started there with the food, and I guess that's sort of carried through till now. I've just been exploring it more and more. There's, you know, first it was nutrient dense food, so some foods are more nutrient dense than others. You got your meats, you got your organs, but then not every steak is the same, right? So steak might be a great food, but is it ethical? Was it raised on antibiotics and grain? You know, what's its diet? So there's all these nuances, and you end up just having to trace it further and further back to the source, getting to meet your farmer, even growing your own food potentially. I'd love to do that one day. That's the goal. So that's kind of where I've landed. This concept of getting to know your farmer, because that's the best way to know the quality of your food.
Yeah, I mean, like we said off there, and we can go over it again, is like there's levels to it, right? There's levels to health, and it's never ending. There's always another layer you can pull back, and you can always go a little bit deeper. And you know, as everyone knows who consumes my stuff, listens to my stuff, we don't always have to go deeper to get a result. But we do have to be curious. And that level of curiosity that you started with was, all food isn't the same. And you're right. But what I always speak about is like, you need to bring awareness to where you are right now. And then ask yourself, like you probably did, is the food that I'm consuming working for me? Is it making me feel good or not? And if so, you now have a reference point of where you are right now, and you can start to explore different foods. and then you can start to explore where they're coming from. You can start to explore where they're grown. You can start to explore the seasonality of it. You can start to explore whether or not they're being sprayed with pesticides, glyphosate, herbicides, fungicides, all of those things. You know, then you can actually you start to explore who grew it. Yep. Then you can start to explore, if it's, you know, meat that you're consuming, what was their life like, right from the moment that they were born, from the moment that they were slaughtered. Whatever it is, there's levels to it, and it all starts with understanding where you are now, and even bringing yourself out to a place like this and just checking in with yourself. And you were able to check in with yourself, and clearly the emotions that you were expressing to your sister, it was clear that you checked in with yourself and said, I dislike where I am right now, and I'm going to do something about it. And it started with food.
Yep.
But then from that point, I'm sure, like, whether or not you're exposed to just, you know, eating more animal-based products and eating more liver, has now gotten you to a point where you're the one that's actually going and connecting with the farmers. And again, we've spoken about, well, there's another level you could go when it comes to hunting your food. I've just purchased my game license because I want to get into hunting. There's another level that you can go.
Yeah. Yeah.
For the listener, I'd love for you to take us on that journey from, you know, seeing Paul Saladino's work, seeing Solbra's work, and where you started, what you introduced, what worked for you.
I have a good story.
Yeah, go, yeah.
So, hot topic at the time, and still is, raw milk.
Oof, yep.
I grew up lactose intolerant.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, so, but I love milk.
Yep.
I have it on my Wheat Bix, smoothies after or before school, milkshakes after school, Milo.
Yes.
Milk. But it always stomach aches, gassy, runs to the toilet.
Yeah.
And I kind of just put up with it because I just liked milk, and you know, it wasn't fair that everyone else could drink milk with me. But actually, a lot of people are do suffer from these sorts of problems with milk.
For sure. Yep.
And then, yeah, raw milk comes along, probably on my feed, and I'm like, okay, what's that? It's got these, different health benefits. But then I hear one girl talk about it, saying that she healed her lactose intolerance through raw milk.
Yeah.
And I was like, no way, like, got to try this. So, somehow find a raw milk supplier in Geelong.
Yep.
Not the one you and I get from now, but...
Yep.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah,
we're good. Yeah. Yeah, we're cruising.
Sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, just tried it out. Start really small. I was instructed by Solbra to ferment it. Fermenting raw milk, by the way, which you can't do with pasteurized milk. It'll go moldy. It'll go really bad because the raw milk has all the natural bacteria in there. It doesn't let the bad bacteria take over. It keeps it in check, so you can actually ferment it. That's how you make cheese and stuff. Pre-digests it, makes it easier to digest. So I start really small, fermenting it, and then, after a few months, I'm drinking a litre a day of unfermented raw cow's milk with 0 stomach problems. So that was a big eye-opener.
Yeah, wow.
And I think raw milk's a bit of a gateway food into this sort of health world, understanding where your food comes from, but also how it should be processed or not processed. With raw milk. But I guess when I say processed, like fermenting grains and
of course,
soaking rice, there's right and wrong ways to do it, and there's nuances, and these are all traditional sort of methods. It's often going back in time and looking at how things were done before industrialization, and things were made all efficient for cities and stuff. So yeah, that was my big experience with food, and that definitely was a catalyst for more curiosity, more exploration into this topic.
Oh, it's beautiful, man. And a language I've been exploring at the moment is addition by subtraction.
Okay.
And raw milk is a classic example of addition by subtraction.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Yeah?
Yep,
It's unfucked with, but yet it's adding so much more to you. You know, sometimes we get so caught up on the idea and sold the illusion that we're not doing enough, and we need to be doing more.
Classic.
And, you know, raw milk is a classic example of having something that hasn't been touched, yet it is adding so much life force, energy, vitality, health to you by doing less. It's removing all the bullshit. And this is where organic comes into play. You're eating the same food, but it hasn't been fucked with. You haven't got the pesticides, the glyphosate, the herbicides, and so you're doing less, but you're adding more.
Yeah, no, I love it. That's a great way to put it.
You know, it's a lot of people, I guess, nowadays, the way that they would be speaking about it is like an ancestral way of living, right? Is the simplicity of how our ancestors probably lived. I mean, we don't know for sure exactly how they would have done things, but if we simply think about the simplicity of nature, if we can copy nature as much as possible, would you agree that, like, that's probably going to get us 90% there, I'd say? Maybe even more, who knows?
Yeah, I think nature is clearly very intelligent.
It's very, yep.
And we try to comprehend it with science and information and data and measure it, but really we know a fraction of what's really happening. You know, all the like smartest people in that have come, and you know, that were really deep in their research and science, like Einstein and that, they all sort of say the same thing, that the more they know, the more they realize how much they don't know. You know what I mean? Because it just gets deeper and deeper, and it's more and more complex. So science is obviously great and has its place, but yeah, I don't have the answers, but it just seems that nature does, and the better we can observe it and just let it do its thing without interfering too much. Or like, we can play with it and sort of interfere, have our input, but we've got to be really observant of, like, you know, what's happening. So obviously when we've interacted with raw milk to try and make it more accessible for the masses, and pasteurized it and increase shelf stability in that, you know, we can observe that that's not the way to go. People can't digest it as well, and so we're taking steps back to bring it to how it once was.
Yeah, it's beautifully said, and quite often we blame milk as you know, the enemy. Oh, milk makes me feel this certain way. Oh, I can't eat bread. Bread's the enemy. Bread's bad. But if you think about sourdough, like, to me anyway, it's a health food. And if you go to places like France and Italy, it's written in their law that if you are to bake bread, you have to follow this rule. And it's to not use pesticides and glyphosate, to only use these 3 to 4 ingredients, and everything has to be baked on site fresh that day. Like, how beautiful is that of a law? You know, they take it so seriously, and yet when you go to France and you have their croissants, you have their bread, everyone's like, oh, it's not the same. It feels so good. I don't get bloated. You know, my skin doesn't flare up. I feel like I've got this nice, clean, grounded energy afterwards. I don't have this big spike and then crash. And it's just like, yeah, because they take it seriously by doing less. Addition by subtraction. They're following the laws of nature. So, we are quite quick to, you know, blame, you know, conventional food, but yet it's not that food's problem. It's what we have done as society to fuck with it, to now it's virtually not a food anymore. Like, milk's not really a food anymore. You know, conventional bread in supermarkets, it's not really food anymore. But if you take those layers back and actually get to what was traditionally, it's food.
Yeah, you just got to look at the ingredient list to realize that it's not a food anymore. And I mean, reading ingredient lists was also a big sort of realization for me, along with the raw milk, like, because you're not taught about ingredient lists, or to look into that. You kind of just trust what's on the supermarket shelf. So yeah, that's a big eye opener. It's a very, very basic one, but for anyone that hasn't sort of reached that point yet, it's definitely worth doing. But yeah, with this, like, coming back to nature, trusting nature, looking at the way addition by subtraction, regenerative farmers are doing this a lot as well. Like, it's not to say that they're working less at all. Maybe you could say they're working more. It's probably irrelevant. But they're looking at natural systems and they're trying to sync up with them. And the way their regenerative farmers are raising beef, they look at them in the wild, and they're moving these big herds across landscapes, and now they're rotational grazing their animals instead of set stocking them, and it's having like huge differences on the landscape and the quality of the meat.
Yeah.
So that's another example. Yeah.
I'd love for you to explain regenerative. How, like, what's that concept? Like, because we hear. Here's the question. We hear, like, grass-fed, and everyone's now going, oh, like, our meat's got to be grass-fed. And then I was exposed to, it's also got to be grass-finished. But then you hear organic, and you hear biodynamic, and now you hear, like, vaccine-free. Now you hear regenerative. It's like, what's the difference with all of that? And I guess, what should the listener be looking out for?
Yeah, well, the reason why I push get to know your farmer is because a label like grass-fed will only get you so far. And that's what we're seeing with now. It's going to be grass-fed and grass-finished, because you can feed a cow grass and then finish it on grain for almost the same amount of time as just a normal grain-fed animal.
Wow.
Because grain-fed animals, they eat grass, and then they just put them in a feedlot for like 100 days and then finish them on grain. But of course, they feed them grass anyway because it's cheaper. But then they fatten them up on grain. And then... Is
that to get a better product?
Yeah, they can put like 200 kilos on them. It's get a better price.
Yeah,
so
okay.
They can put a lot of weight on them in a short amount of time. So grass-fed, now they're just calling it grass-fed, but they're finishing on grain. So now it's got to be grass-fed and finished, and that will just keep on happening. They'll always make these workarounds with labels and try to trick you. So I just think, just try your best to get to know your farmer, understand what their values are, even understand why they are farming, understand their story, and then you don't need to have all the labels, and you can just trust that what they're producing is good quality food. So that's kind of what I'm pushing for. And yeah, there was another question in there that
What's the definition? And I find this the hardest word to pronounce. Regenerative.
Regenerative. I look at it as a step above sustainable.
Yep.
So sustainable is you're sustaining something. We're not trying to ruin it, but we kind of got to this point where, okay, landscapes are like collapsing, and and the soil is dead, and
so it's going back in. So like everything's...
It's bringing it back up. It's restoring landscapes. It's putting life back in the in the soil, and it's regenerating it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think regenerative farmers have soil health front of mind with every decision that they make on farm. Of course, you got to turn a profit and stuff.
Yeah.
And sometimes if you're really heavily on chemicals, you don't just cold turkey, but you wean off them over years.
Yep.
But it's, the regenerative mindset is one of curiosity and one of regenerating, trying to grow and...
Copying nature again.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. And man, like, there are some beautiful farmers in Australia right now.
Yeah.
And you have been exposing it. And I love that so much about your content. It's so raw. It's so authentic, and it's just you sharing the farmer's story. And what are the episodes that you're doing? What are the episodes that you're exploring?
So it's sort of you call it a get to know your farmer
Yes.
series, and I'm shining a light
Yep.
on Australian food producers making high quality food.
It's so beautiful, and the one that really sparked my interest was Woki.
Yeah, Walkie. Yeah.
And how they've got now like almost like a self-serve concept in Albury where you can go in and you can tap your card and you can buy your meat. And the other one that you recently shared, man, was the chicken.
Yep.
That is like absolutely crazy to think about, and now it sparks curiosity because like a lot of people I know, and even including myself, was just like, I'll stay away from chicken because it's just not good.
True.
But it's just more the fact that we can't really get access or have access to good quality chicken.
Yep.
And who are the farmers that are now changing the game?
So there's 5. Well, what I speak about in that episode is this heritage breed that was bred over 15 years for Australian conditions.
Yep.
And it's more like resilient to disease.
Yeah.
And they're better foragers, so they'll have a greater impact on regenerating the landscape, scratching up and looking for bugs. And they'll also be able to access a more diverse, nutritious diet because of that ability to forage.
Yep.
So that means better meat and better health for us. So there's 5 producers using this heritage breed in Australia. It's called the Summer Lad breed. And I spoke about these two, this couple. I think it's Brian and Kim Kiss, and they're in New South Wales, and they're raising these birds and moving them around on pasture, regenerating landscapes, and the response they're getting, they've been doing it for a long time, but the response that they've got consistently is that it's how chicken used to be.
Yeah.
They're having older people consume this meat, and they're saying it reminds them of how it used to be before all this industrialization and mass scale sort of thing.
Yep.
So that's really cool. I'm yet to try it, but I'm planning to order it, like a sort of big carton to fill up the freezer.
Yeah, cool.
With my sister. So that's exciting. They say that the meat's richer and darker.
It's almost like that yellowy.
Yeah, more of a yellowy fat.
Yeah.
So it's more omega-3s.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. What else? I mean that's pretty much it with that. But there's so many good producers in Australia, and a lot of them, because of how efficient we've become at transportation and things, you can freeze meat and ship it across Australia, and you have these like cold storage systems, and yes, maybe local food is the best, but I don't know. I have no problem with. I just bought a box of beef from New South Wales Levenvale Farm, Ballet Beef, and they make regenerative organic beef, and I've been loving that. But we can access these farmers, so I'm trying to shine a light on them.
Yeah, and I think
and support the good practices, because that's, we vote with our dollars. So. Yeah, I think the more we support these people, and the more we say this is what we want, that'll become recognised, and we'll slowly move to this way of farming, and I think the conventional way of farming will sort of hopefully maybe phase out.
Yeah, I mean, there's polarity, right? Like you have two sides to the coin, and as much as I believe there shouldn't be such thing as separation, unfortunately there is. And there has to almost be that conventional style of farming to then expose this style of farming. And if everything all of a sudden turned into this style of farming, like, I think the world would collapse. Like, it would just be like, it'd be too much of a shock. But what I'm probably seeing now is like it's being drip fed. It's slowly changing to how it once was, but if it was to all happen straight away,
yeah,
be a lot of tension.
Sure, yeah. I think we're like, we're learning.
We're learning.
Like we've gone really far one way.
Yes.
And then now we're coming back the same way. Me and you were curious and explored the boundaries of partying and things, and there was good things about it.
Yeah.
But now it's, we're coming back.
Coming back. Yeah. Which I think is really cool. And yeah, like you said so beautifully, man, you do vote with your dollar. I think there's a lot of us, and I've been guilty at times, to scream loud at the back of the room for change. I want change, and why is it like this? And there's chemtrails in the air, and But it's like, you can do that, and you can get really caught up in the darkness of it. You can get caught up in the darkness of the government and what's happening with vaccines and, how expensive everything is. And it's all true. Yep. I get it. But to truly create change, in my opinion, I'm not here to change the world. I'm here to change your mind so you can change your world.
Yeah, wow.
And that's it.
Yeah.
I wrote that like a night or two ago. I'm like...
Wow, yeah, nice.
Because I don't want a big audience. I don't need a big audience. But I want an audience who are curious. And then with that curiosity creates an inspiration. Mm-hmm. And when you're inspired to do something, you can now design the life you want. Through curiosity, I'm inspired, now I'm going to design the life that I want. And to design the life that I want, it's the choices you make. It's the choices that you make to go and find the farmers, to go and find the organic produce, to find the clean water, to find the good people, to spend more time in nature. These are all choices that you're making, but you're not screaming on Instagram to be like, you need to do this or you need to stop doing that. Yeah. It's you be the change. You lead by the example. You're the inspiration. Yeah. Like, we've found each other just because we're a magnet to each other. And that's how it should be. We should be all this compounding magnet for the people that are changing for themselves. Yeah. And now it's almost like there's this ripple effect. Yeah. And I don't know the exact quote, so I'm not even going to try and say it. But it's like this ripple effect is like, it starts so small and then it just kind of slowly ripples out into the world. And somewhere along the line, someone's magnetism has rippled into your world, and now you're rippling into others. But you're not trying to change everyone. You're just trying to change yourself to then naturally snowball into changing others.
And that's what I love about what you're doing with this podcast, as you were telling me before, how this one is a bit different to your other one.
Yeah.
Where, it's not about telling people what to do.
No.
Because that will get them so far, but it's the getting to the root cause, you know, and helping them think differently so that they can make them changes themselves, right?
That's it.
Teach a man to... you know what I'm saying? Like, teach a man to fish and
yeah.
That, so,
yeah.
Give a man a fish, feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, feed him for a lifetime.
That's it. Classic.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. And I like also, the small scale aspect of it, and just rippling out, because that's how I would imagine this regenerative farming feeding the world. It's not going to be the regenerative farm, one regenerative farm feeding all of Australia. No, it's going to be all small scale and getting back to more local food.
Yes. Yeah.
That's the more realistic thing.
I totally agree. Yeah. And what I feel is kind of happening with these small farms is like it's almost like bringing back this like sense of like community and sharing. Yeah. And like I was able to be exposed to seeing that at first hand when I was I don't know why I said that, but I spent like 2 weeks in Scotland living with a friend, and they were on this beautiful property, and there was about 6 to 7 houses around them. They were all within a kilometre of each other. One person had the eggs, one person had the veggies, one person had the fish, and they share.
So cool.
And that to me is almost like what we're doing here on a slightly grander scale. The meat that I choose to supply for my family they're in supply and demand. Like, you know, sometimes they haven't got enough because they're only like they're only able to farm so many cows. And I love that.
Yeah.
You know, I love the fact that like some weeks I can't get it because it's like it's not mass produced. And so therefore if I can't get it that week, then I'm like, oh, I might just eat a few more sardines this week.
Do you think this relates to addition by subtraction, in that as the farmer being the producer, when you apply this to business, you're content with your small scale and selling out, rather than, okay, we're selling out, now we've got to level up, and now we've got to feed more people, and now we've got to transport it across the country, and, you know, chasing. Maybe you'd probably get a bit more profit. Your expenses would also go up. Probably your stress would go up. You'd probably get less sleep. But that's not really what it's about. It's just like being content with what you have as well.
Yeah, of course. Like, I think it's choosing to see the abundance in what you do have in this moment. And like, you only then receive more abundance from the feeling you get, not what you sell on a mass scale. You know, because more doesn't always equal more, right?
Yeah.
And you could see that, like, you know, this particular farmer's Otway Beef.
Yep.
You know, like those guys, like, you know, and I rang those farmers, and I wanted to get in on their 10 kilo box, their monthly 10 kilo box, and they're like, sorry Zach, we don't have space for you.
Yeah.
So the meat that I'm getting is only what I've got access to at the farm gate that I shop from.
Yeah.
So if they don't have it one week, they're like, sorry, we didn't get a meat order either.
Yeah.
So if you're not on that list, it's just like, it's kind of like too bad. So they're capping it. It's just like my clients that I work with, I'm capping it because more doesn't always equal more.
Yeah.
It's about like how you can actually provide the best service, provide the best food. And funny enough, it's like more people will probably end up on your wait list. So when someone jumps off, then someone's going to jump back on. They could easily go, you know what, let's open it up to another 150, but now our whole ethos and everything changes, which now you're kind of losing your integrity just to sell more product, just to make more money.
And you know, when you have a greater demand, you can put your prices up. Not that you're trying to rip people off, but it's just this sort of abundant thing, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And like, it's so cool to hear that a lot of farmers are now doing that. And yeah, like obviously there's some farmers that are you know, doing everything ethically and everything's organic and biodynamic, and they are on a bigger scale, and that's really cool as well. But I think the question is simply, what can I do? How can I play my part in this? It doesn't really matter if you're like necessarily supporting something that's really small scale or something that's a little bit bigger. It's just about like, what steps can you put in place to get as close as you can to the farmer? You know, maybe today it's just like, you know, I might look for the grass-fed label at Woolworths and Coles. Cool, that's a start. And then it's like, maybe I will go down to that farmer's market on a Saturday, and then I select the meat and the produce down there. But then it's actually like looking at the farmers that do come to the farmer's market and then going directly to them. Yep. Shaking hands with them, connecting with them, asking them about their story and about their life and how they were inspired and curious to get into this stuff. And then from that point, it's almost like you're then naturally exposed to everything. You could even ask the question, do you guys eat fish? Where do you get it from? You know, do you guys have milk? Where are you getting your veggies from? And it's just like, I always think if you go directly to the source, they all can always steer you in the direction of where to go. Like, you go there and they're like, oh, you can also go over here. Oh yeah, and over there. And then naturally it just compounds. Like, you have so much access to all of these beautiful farmers now because you probably started with Paul Saladino and Solbra, and, which is, you know, funny enough, has now led you to shaking hands with farmers.
Yeah, and like you say, there's more and more layers, and so finding good quality food that's denser in nutrients and void of chemicals is one thing. But like you say, you meet the farmer, and I can guarantee you, if you meet your farmer, shake their hand, hear their story, that food will taste a lot better. You'll enjoy it a lot more. And when you sit down with your family and go and tell them the story about, you know, where this farm, where this food came from, and
yeah,
it's just, there's so much more meaning to it.
Yes.
And I think that's almost a nutrient in itself, you know? Like, you can even, if you're trying to take a scientific lens, you know, how is it better for my health? You would say it puts you in a parasympathetic state. That's the calm one, right?
Yep, that's the calm one. Yeah.
And you know, and then you digest your food better.
Yes.
Right. So.
But then you can also probably tie the spiritual component onto that.
Yep.
You know, like if you're able to connect with the farmer, have a conversation, shake hands, feel the energy of them, connect with, you know, the earth that everything's being grown on, and the pasture that the cattle is being raised on, and you're there, you can see it unfold. It's then by the time it gets to your plate, you're connecting so much with the food, which is allowing you to connect so deeper to yourself, which is allowing you to slow down because you have a greater appreciation for the food and where it comes from, and, you know, it entering into your body. And like, to me, that's just as much of a spiritual practice as it is a physical practice.
Yep. Gratitude is huge.
Yeah.
It's been changing my life recently.
Gratitude, yeah, cool, man, cool.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit off topic, but I've been doing gratitude every morning for the last couple of months, and it's just been really changing my world.
Yeah.
Because it's like, as you train your brain and mind to think in a certain way, those thought patterns get stronger, and, you know, and you start to realize just the simple practice of writing down what you're grateful for every morning. I do 10 things. So, and it's always a new 10 things, so you kind of really have to think about it, and yeah, you just start realizing how much you have, and then you start seeing more and more abundance in your life as a result of that.
Yeah.
A bit off topic, but
no, it's you know, funny enough, it's perfectly on topic. You know, everything is connected in that way, and a huge part of me and my ethos, my vision, my mission is how everything is connected. You know, we should never look at anything in isolation. You know, we are this beautiful, intrinsic, entangled system that seems so complex and complicated, yet it's so simple. And what I always speak about is, like, none of what we're saying is easy, and health shouldn't be easy. But it shouldn't be complicated. It can be simple. Yep. There's still aligned action and hard work and effort to get yourself to a place of whatever abundance looks like for you, but it doesn't have to be complex and entangled in the process of it. It can be simple. And what you're speaking about here and what I'm speaking about is just like, if we can connect a little deeper to ourselves, connect a little deeper to where our food is coming from, connect a little deeper to nature,
yep.
You're moving the needle a fair amount of the way there.
Yeah, and you don't have to define it all with science. You can just have that sort of faith that these natural systems work.
They work. It's almost like it's homeostasis. It's our natural state of being. Like, where we're sitting right now is where we're meant to be.
Yeah.
You know, and we're going to transition into talking about fermented bee pollen.
Yep.
Which is, again, a huge part of your story.
Sure.
But it's nature.
Yep.
It's nature unfolding. It's nature doing its thing.
Yep.
And again, like, if you look at honey,
yep.
honey in isolation can be a superfood, but what we've probably done to it on a grand scale and on a conventional level, by the time the honey gets to the supermarket, I mean, is it really honey?
It's a good question, yeah, and it comes down to the management and the processing.
Yep.
How are those bees managed, and how has the product been processed? So when those bees are managed naturally and when that product is minimally processed, honey doesn't just have honey in it. It has bee bread, which is what Zach's tucking into. It has, traces of pollen. It has some wax, has propolis, and you'll even get some royal jelly in there. Like, you have all these different products of the hive in with honey when it's managed naturally, when bees are kept naturally.
Yep.
And there's one really good honey producer in Australia named Tim Malfoy. He's in the Blue Mountains of New South Wales, and he's just producing some like really, really good honey. I don't know if you saw that episode, but it's next level. And as a result of him having these really natural beekeeping practices, which I'm not going to like get into the details of it, and minimally or processing his honey, actually to the point where most honey producers, I don't know if you've seen a frame of honey pulled out of a beehive.
Yeah.
Yep, they put it in this centrifugal thing and it spins the honey out. But he actually cuts it out of the frame and crushes it and strains it. And that's doing like, it's very different process.
Wow.
And it's much more time consuming. But yeah, it's like, it's getting back to how it's supposed to be done. And so the products he creates are up there in terms of medicinal activity.
Wow. Yep.
With the sort of the strongest Manuka honeys on the market, and that really speaks to the power of natural beekeeping and this whole concept of getting back to how things should be done and once were done. So yeah, but should we explain sort of what bee bread is?
Yeah,
so bees go and they forage for pollen. Obviously bees are pollinators, and they collect these baskets of pollen on their hind legs and they bring it back to the hive, and that's their protein source. But they don't eat it fresh off the flower like we do. We actually, have you had bee pollen before?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
like the tiny little bits.
Tiny little granules,
Yep.
and they're dried.
Yep.
And so a bee will fly into the hive with them on their back legs, and a beekeeper will put a pollen trap on the front of the hive, and it's these little holes that the bee has to squeeze through, and then it kicks the pollen off their back legs. And then we take that and then we dry it to make it shelf stable, and then we consume that raw and or dried. But the bees don't eat it like that. What they do is they, if we were to give them a chance to bring it into the hive, they ferment it into this product called bee bread. So they put it in these little honeycomb cells with nectar and let it ferment over about a month, and then they consume it. And then when the science looks at the difference between bee pollen and bee bread, it's much more digestible. The fermentation breaks it down, because pollen actually has this hard outer shell. It's one of the most like resistant substances in nature, very resistant to digestion as well. And fermentation breaks that down, makes it more digestible, and then it's also a way of preserving it. Pollen has a high moisture content, so it would go, moldy and that at room temperature, but through fermentation they can preserve it. So I harvested that from one of my beehives. I got into beekeeping like 6 months ago, last spring, and that was a harvest from one of my hives, because the hive died, and this is a really rare harvest because you can only harvest it when a hive dies or moves on, absconds. So that's my little rant on bee bread and bee pollen.
That's your TED talk on bee pollen.
Yeah.
No,
that wasn't too much. Yeah.
Nah, man, never too much. I love the passion and I love the curiosity. And again, like I was watching your videos, and yeah, like you were, as much as we were kind of, bagging out science before, like you almost look like this little scientist kind of like in the lab, and you had like the blue light blockers on, and you had all these buckets out, and you were just talking about like fermentation. I was like, man, like whatever the outcome of what he's doing is, like the man's in his groove. Like you could just see that you were just doing your thing, and I love that. And like I'm sure, I don't know, maybe you haven't failed, but I'm sure that there's times where you got it wrong. Yep. Or maybe it didn't turn out the way it was meant to, and something I speak about that's again like it seems like it's off brand, but it's so on brand, is just like we need to be okay with trying things and being okay at failing things and getting things wrong, and just being this curious being having a human experience. Because like I think in the modern day that we live in, because we've got access to so many things, like we never get things wrong because we never try new things anymore. We're always like, you know, quick to research on what's the answer, or like, you know, quick to see like, oh, like if this person says it's right and they've got 2 million followers on Instagram, it must be right. Rather than just like turning everything off, connecting with yourself, and just giving something a red hot crack and allowing it to look shit and yourself to look silly 100 times over, until then you become so connected in the practice and the process that eventually the outcome just is what it is.
And that's kind of been a bit of the journey with making this product, which I haven't actually launched yet, but I will in the next couple of months. You know, it's hopping, I mean, that's the social media journey as well.
Of course.
It's making a bit of a fool of yourself, but just having a go. And then, you know, with more effort and more time and more trialing, you hit a winner. And then you rinse and repeat that. And so yeah, I'm kind of just like experimenting here. This is sort of the first expression of everything that we're talking about, this idea of being curious, this idea of getting back to natural foods. This is far superior, well, this isn't my product, but the product I'm making is far superior to any other bee pollen product on the market, in my opinion, because it's never been dried. I'm preserving it through fermentation. Something I learnt about when you dry bee pollen, it gets up to temperatures as high as 50 degrees Celsius. And it's there for hours.
So it's killing all the goodness out of it?
Of course, because, I mean, with honey, this has become quite accepted that raw is best, and you don't want to heat it above 40 degrees, they say, because the science says you start losing enzymes, the very thing that makes honey medicinal. I would say 35 degrees is as hot as you want to get it, because that's the temperature of the beehive. I learned that about bee pollen, and that was sort of, you know, a mistake, because I was working with dried bee pollen, fermenting that first, and then I realized, well, I can source fresh bee pollen and preserve it through fermentation. So yeah, it's called Pollen Honey, and it's releasing in a couple of months.
Sick.
And the brand is called Honey Rock. I'm just working with a graphic designer now, getting the label all nice and neat and pretty, and then I'll launch the pre-sale, and that will fund the first batch of 100 jars.
And then you're going to like mass sell it, scale it, make heaps of money and profit. That's all of that.
International. And
international. Nice. Sell your soul. No, it's super rad, man. And I mean, I can't wait to get my hands on it and try it. But that's like a.
What do you think of the taste there?
Man, it's go pause. It's super unique. It's like it's almost got like a bit of a sour. It's not. I wouldn't even say it's sweet. Really, it's got little touch of sweetness.
Sure. I get fruity notes.
Yes.
Fruity.
Yeah.
Definitely sour element. It's a lactic acid bacteria ferment.
Yeah.
Kind of like if you were to ferment raw milk. Do you ever ferment raw milk?
No, but I'd love to explore that. But so when I was down at this pop-up yesterday, I tried this wine, and there's this dude who is out in Macedon Ranges, and he's like making like basically the most natural fermented wine you can possibly do before it's not wine anymore. It's like it's basically not a product that you could sell.
Okay.
And so it's like minimally processed. He basically got these certain vines that were almost like dying, and there was only like 100 odd vines or something like that. And he's basically got it, he stomped it, it's unfined, it's unfiltered, there's zero sulfur added to it.
Wow.
And basically he puts it in the bottle while it's still fermenting.
Yeah, wow.
And so like essentially I opened up this red wine yesterday and tasted it, and the guy's like, I'd love to know your thoughts on this, taste it. And it almost tasted fizzy.
Yep.
Like this.
Right.
It had that kind of sourness to it. And because it's alive. It's essentially alive. And yes, I'm not on here promoting that you should drink alcohol, but I'm like, if you're going to, like, that's, in my opinion, how it should be consumed. Like, you're getting to know the winemaker. There's only probably between 150 to 500 bottles made of this particular batch, unfined, unfiltered, stainless steel vat, and as it's still fermenting, it's like kind of in the bottle doing its thing. And so with natural wine, and I mean, there's been a lot of producers out there that have been making natural wine that's kept for 30 years. A lot of these like grand scale winemakers are like, that's not real wine. Like, wine is meant to get better as it ages. And so therefore they add preservatives, they add heaps of sulfur to it to preserve it and to make it better. But all of these natural winemakers, especially from France, are coming out and basically saying like, no, like this is how wine once was.
Yep.
And reading about natural wine is it's the most heavily sprayed crop on this planet.
Really?
It's grapes.
Yeah, well,
It's wine.
Yeah.
And yet, like when you go to like a natural vineyard, like all of the farmers that are making these wine, all these wine producers are like so connected to the soil, and they're so connected to the fruit, and the process from like grape to bottle is like it's so minimal. It's addition by subtraction, and like the definition of natural wine is like nothing added, nothing taken away. It's the fruit as is. And so when I consume that, it's just like, oh, like if the medium of my choice is having a glass or two of wine every now and then, I should at least do my best to connect to how it should be done, and the traditional way of the way wine once was.
Yeah, and then you're also supporting that type of farming as well. You're voting with your dollar again.
You're voting with your dollar again.
And it's just fermented grape juice. That's what it is. Isn't it? I think there's an argument to say that a glass of wine every few nights, but once a week, I don't know, could be beneficial for your health. I don't know. You know, there's definitely an argument if it's inviting more community. You know, if
Yeah.
You could both speak on this.
Oh man, I think like, you know, for me with wine, it's more than wine. Yep. It's more than just having a glass and being done with it. Like, you know, I am so curious to explore these winemakers now because they're doing something that's so unique to winemaking, and there's a lot of winemakers in Australia that are doing it. And the curiosity for me started with a lot of these French natural winemakers and watching a lot of their videos on YouTube, and I'm like, oh my God, like there's a whole different world out there to explore. But again, it's bringing people together, it's bringing community together. Like a lot of these natural winemakers, like they share a lot of harvests and grapes, you know, so like if they have a really good vintage, for example, and like, you know, the farm down the road like didn't, like that year, it's like, oh, can I buy, you know, 100 odd grapes from you, and I'm going to blend my white grapes with your red grapes, and we're going to collaborate on like making a wine together. So then producers are getting together and they're making juice together.
Yep.
And, you know, they're only making, the really good natural winemakers are only making anywhere between like, you know, 100 to maximum of 5,000 bottles, like, you know, per vintage, per grape. And a lot of these winemakers now are blending different grapes and, bringing a lot of community together. And, I just think it's kind of like this. It probably once was an experiment to be like, oh, like, why don't we like kind of try and do this and then maybe like do a little bit of that and do it this way, and then it comes out as like something when you taste from a conventional wine drinker would be like, oh, that's so horrible. But it's because there's nothing taken away and nothing added, you're basically just getting the product, not the outcome of what people want to taste, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think maybe these systems can be more profitable as well, like less inputs, you would imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, I think what I've heard about organic winemaking is that you got to be, I think you said this, you got to be really involved with the soil, with the vines.
Yes.
You got to spend a lot more time out on foot in the vineyard, knowing where everything's at, where different parts of the vineyard, how healthy they are, what they need. You got to be a lot more in tune. You got to be a lot more present.
Yep.
Whereas conventional winemakers, I'm sure there's that element, but it's probably more hands-off and more of a routine spraying schedule.
Yep.
Keeping everything in check.
Yeah.
You know?
And look, there's some years that a lot of these winemakers won't get grapes.
sure. Yep.
You know, like whether it's a frost or, you know, whether it's a too hot of a summer or whatever it might be, they've like got this plan to make this certain wine from this certain grape, and it gets to the time where the grape's meant to be doing its thing and it just didn't because of nature. And it's like, okay, cool, I'm not making wine.
Yeah.
Or I'm not making this particular blend of wine, or I'm not, you know, doing Pinot, or I'm not doing Shiraz or whatever it might be in the conventional, because you can always get it done with Pinot and Shiraz in the conventional setting because of how much you're adding to the process to simply get a grape to produce, rather than letting nature do its thing.
And what are you losing though? You know,
you're losing the soul of the grape.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
You know, like honey in the supermarket now, it's like honey is a superfood, but you've lost the soul along the process.
Compromising flavour as well.
100%.
Yeah. Like, something I've noticed doing this new series, I've been looking for farmers on the Harvey Norman Delicious Produce Awards. Every year they come out with this Delicious Produce Awards. And I don't know how long they've been doing it, but it goes back to like 2016 at least.
Yeah.
Maybe way further. And yeah, what they're saying, like, something that I've noticed is that they're all regenerative farmers.
Really?
They're all regenerative farmers. Yeah, all the ones I'm coming across, whether they're meat producers, so every year they have a sort of an award for the land, or for the earth they call it, and from the sea. So they have seafood producers, dairy, meat, vegetables, and you look at these producers and they're all doing regenerative farming. Wow. And then they make separate blogs outside of the awards, and they talk about different styles of farming and how regenerative farming produces the best tasting food. So it's not just a quality thing, it's a flavour thing. Yep. It's like you say, there's a spiritual element, you know, there's a community and all that.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, so, man, it's something that you and I can both agree, when you're exposed to it, you see more of it. You know, have you ever thought about like buying a car?
Yeah.
And next thing you know, like you're thinking about buying that car, and then all you see on the road is that car.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Like, that's what we're talking about here, I believe. When you're exposed to all of it, everything we've said in this episode, you start seeing it more.
Yeah.
It's a compounding effect. You're a magnet to it. You just, there's more of it there. Like, you know, when I started getting into natural wine, like I came back to Australia after living overseas for a year in end of 2017, early 2018, come back in about COVID time.
Yep.
And like, even that it was in COVID, I was like starting to see a lot of this natural wine because it was spilling from, you know, Europe into Australia. And then I started doing more research, and I started drinking more of it, and it just opened up this whole world. And then, you know, with natural wine comes a lot of like really good food. Like wherever you find like natural wine in a restaurant, it's almost 100% of the time you find really good food. Because if people are stocking natural wine in their restaurants, they're usually like really dialed in with their food as well. Yep. And so it's a magnet for each other. Yep. And so it's like when you find a really good, farmer, it's like you're almost then naturally going to find like, really good fishmongers, or, you know, really good people that are producing honey, or, you know, people that are like, we also know these really good dairy farmers that are, got access to incredible raw milk. And then you find more people that are into the same thing. It's this compounding effect. Once you see it and you're exposed to it, you just see more of it.
Where attention goes, energy flows.
Yes.
And so, I think it's really important to develop that awareness around your thoughts, because that leads to actions, and that creates your circumstances. And it also relates to what I was talking about with gratitude. You know, I start realizing all the things I can be grateful for, and now I start seeing more and more abundance
Yeah.
in my life. So yeah, just it's definitely real, and
It's
I
real.
love how we keep circling back to that.
I think I know it's really important,
Yeah.
you know, and why I say that is because I've seen it to be true. I've felt it. I still feel it today, and even in moments of doubt, or scarcity or fear, which, you know, as a human we still are faced with those emotions quite often.
Yeah.
You come back to that process. You come back to gratitude.
Yeah.
You come back to coming outside, being in the sun. You have a really beautiful conversation like this. You taste some beautiful food. You know, you jump in the ocean. You get your feet on the earth, and you just you're back in that energy.
Yeah.
And then you stay in that energy for a bit, and it feels so good to be in that energy. And then you find yourself in a bit of scarcity, fear, and doubt, and you go, "Oh, okay, cool." You then know what to come back to. You then know what room or environment or person to put yourself in front of, or what food is going to make you feel better, or if it's getting in the ocean. Like, we have all of these practices, experiences at our fingertips if we want to choose this reality, and it's all choice.
I 100% agree, and I think there's no room for victim mentality, because you just have to, your circumstance, like I said just before, is a result of your actions, which is a result of your thoughts.
Yeah.
And the more that you can be aware of your thoughts, you know, you can sort of create your circumstance, and I would even go as far as to say, like, look at your circumstance, and when bad things happen, you know, you trace that back and see, and then like you say, try to replace that with a new thought pattern, and come back to those things that you know work for you.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think that's a beautiful way to wrap up this conversation. Is there anything that you're feeling called to speak into?
I think we've covered a lot of it. I'm just really grateful that you've had me on, and I love the conversation. I think it's a really important one, and I think it's brought up some new awareness for me around certain things. So I'm also keen to watch it back and see what value I can draw from it.
Always the student, always the teacher.
Thank you.
Quite often we give ourselves the medicine we need, but quite often we choose not to listen to ourselves. So,
it's a funny one,
maybe it's time for you to, not from a place of ego or anything like that, but to watch yourself back, because, if you can learn from yourself, that's mastery, that's sage type energy, that's wisdom, and I believe we all have it, and I believe we can all learn from ourselves. We just choose not to listen, and I think to really listen to yourself, it's about giving yourself space to listen, and creating an environment where if you drop in enough, the answers just surface by themselves. If you go for that walk along the beach for an hour with no distractions, you'll have the answer. If you sit in nature by yourself, watch the surfers, you'll have the answers. We don't give it enough time for it to arise. Our intuition's a beautiful thing, but it's never loud enough, because we're always pushing it down, because there's too much external noise coming in that we choose to listen to, and that's all well and good. That's totally okay until it's not, right? And if it's not feeling okay for you at the moment, if you do want to make these choices and you want to create more abundance for yourself, whatever that looks like, it starts with removing the noise, removing the distractions, and coming out to a place like this and just checking in once every now and then. Like, it doesn't have to be like this crazy meditation process that you got to put yourself through every day, but if you can find more moments of a little bit more space and time, good things happen.
It's very powerful, nature, its ability to just feed things to you, and it's and don't expect some huge revelation every time you go
No.
out there, but just be detached and just open to whatever.
Yeah.
And I definitely agree with you. Like sometimes, well, often or all the time, that intuition it's often just a whisper.
Yeah.
And you really do need to quieten things down to hear it. So I love your work and
Appreciate it, you too, man.
I appreciate the reminder to slow down and because I get caught up in it just as I'm sure you do sometimes in the busyness of everything. So more conversations like this help.
That's it, man. Yeah. Energy is everything.
Thanks, brother.
Yeah, awesome.
Appreciate you having me on.
Appreciate it. Well, how sick was that? And hey, what a day!
Beautiful.
Like, sun is out, I'm warm, there's more surfers out in the ocean, it's winter down here on the surf coast of Victoria, life's good.
Life is good.
Peace and love, brother.
Thanks, brother. Hey, that was great.